let's be real. Most of us get into grant writing because we like to write, not numbers. And you probably thought, isn't someone else supposed to handle this budget anyway? Spoiler, not only is the grant budget your responsibility, it's actually your secret sauce to winning more grants. Because today I am sharing my 3 ground rules for nailing the budget, plus a bonus set of tips to turn your budget from a liability into the reason you win grants. Your budget is the backbone of your entire proposal, and how much you can promise to accomplish with the grant money is directly tied to how much it's going to cost. The bottom line is, if you don't nail your budget, it can cost you the grant. So before we get into the specifics of building and balancing your budget, let's first take a step back and define what a grant budget actually is. A grant budget is a financial plan for your project or program. It's where you're outlining all of the expenses that are necessary to carry out your work. Everything from staff salary to office supplies to travel costs. The purpose of the budget is to show the funder how much money you need to complete your project and why that money is essential for success. And without a super solid budget, funders can't assess if your project is feasible or if the money you're requesting will be used wisely. Let's make sure you're building a budget that does just that. Here are my 3 ground rules for nailing your grant budget. Number 1, build your base camp budget. First ground rule to getting your budget right is getting what I call your base camp. Every grant application, they request the budget information in a slightly different way, and this can really get you into a tangle when you're trying to recategorize expenses, but make sure you've included everything. Absolute non-negotiable is that you've got your home base, right? Your base camp budget that you can return to as a source of truth no matter what application you work on. In the description below, I'm going to give you my incredibly swanky budget template for free, but before you go download it, I want you to know a few things about it. That budget template is repurposed from a federal grant template. So the expense categories, they might seem a little weird to you. Regardless, if you've ever touched a federal grant or not, this is a great budget template. It's very thorough and it works well for any type of grant application you might pursue. I'm going to give you an example of this shortly with the simple grant application I just submitted. The base camp budget should include your most common costs that show up in almost every project: personnel, travel, supplies, contractual costs, equipment, etc. And once we build that base, now you don't have to start from scratch every time a new grant opportunity comes your way. Hold up, common mistake. Program versus project. Let's just flag this right now. It's a common question I get all the time. Do I build the budget for A, the amount requested in the grant, B, the entire project or program, or C, the entire nonprofit? The answer is B. Build your base camp budget for the entire project or program that you're working on getting funded. For example, I'm on the board of the Kennecott-McCarthy Recreation Alliance. It's supporting recreation in this gorgeous corner of the earth next to Wrangell St. Elias National Park. My base camp budget was just built around the cost of a new playground because that is the focus of my fundraising activities, not the entire KMRA budget. 2 is balancing your budget between costs and cost share, which is also known as match. This is really important you lock in on this. The second ground rule is that we have to balance them. This is the 100% the area I see most budgets make mistakes. I'm going to give you an example. You're seeing my budget template on the screen right now. Every tab that you see, with the exception of J, cost share, that's what adds up to all of your project and program costs. And often grants require match. So this is when basically you need to provide cash or in-kind donated time or materials outside of the grant money you're asking for. Anything you list for in the cost share tab must be accounted for in the budget. Let's say you're applying for a grant. They want 50% match. You got to come up with half of the project costs. Let's say I work on my budget. I got $5,000 of equipment needs. I have $45,000 I'm going to contract out. So my total budget's $50K. I need 50% match. That means I need $25,000 of match cost share, right? So I'm like, okay, cool, got it. I got $5,000 of cash. We'll donate $20,000 of our in-kind personnel time. You tally that up. Bam, there's $25K. That's 50% of this. I'm good, right? Bang! No, you're not. Here's the issue with this. I am listing in personnel, in-kind time here in my match, but I don't have it over in the budget. So to be accurate about this, I hate touching this. I didn't bring my... I did not bring a Swiffer. So to actually make this accurate, I need to include $20,000 of personnel time. This is at now $70,000. And if I look at this, my $25,000 is not 50% any longer of $70K. That's actually 36%. Now that I've corrected my example, I've got to go figure out where else am I going to get some match from so I can truly get it to 50%, which would be that I need $35,000 if it's 50% match to truly provide a 50% cost share. I need to raise another $10,000, right? Before I could apply for this grant. This is why it's so important that you understand that any contribution that is listed in the match cost share tab must be accounted for elsewhere in your budget. I have a whole chapter dedicated to this in my book, How to Write a Grant, Become a Grant Writing Unicorn, and in the budget portion of our free grant writing class, which I'll link up below. Number 3 is creating a budget narrative that justifies every line item. To master our budget, we need to justify why we have those expenses. And this is where you're going to break down each cost and why it is necessary for success. Funders want to understand, why did you budget the way you have? Your narrative is your chance to explain it very clearly and convincingly. If I'm requesting $30,000 for personnel, right, staff time, I got to justify that expense. So how many people are going to be working on the project? What are they doing? How many hours are they working? What's their pay rate? And by answering these questions, I'm showing the funder that, hey, I have thought this through very well, and these are legit the people needed to make this project happen. A solid budget narrative isn't just about listing the expenses. It's about proving why, like, this expense is vital. This is where, if you're trying to figure out, like, how do I fund staff, this is a good place to put it. It's not just your project and program costs. Put your staff costs in here. Because without having a good budget narrative, a funder might doubt if your budget is realistic or necessary. I could go off on budget talk, and I do inside the Grant Writing Collective, because that's where myself or any of our other coaches are personally reviewing your budgets. We can give you that second set of eyes. But in the interest of time, I'm going to round out this video with a round robin of final tips to master your grant budget. Let's go. Quest quotes early and save that documentation in your project folder. If possible, review your budget with the funder so you can pinpoint what elements of the budget that they would be most excited to fund. Sometimes you can ask them, would you prefer to fund this or that? Include inflation if you're looking at a multi-year project to account for cost increases, especially lately. Get others to review your budget. Once I forgot a $40,000 expense from a budget because I did not have someone check my work. Thankfully, we fixed the issue, but it was a close call. Recognize that developing a budget can take time. You want to start broad, and then we're going to get it increasingly dialed in with time. You are now dangerously knowledgeable to master your next grant budget. Be sure to go grab the free budget template I have linked up below. It is literally the exact same one I use for every project, and comment below on what your main takeaway is. See ya!